Hello and welcome to this week's Reading Aloud. Can I have extra large with cheese? That's $2.60. Yes, please. Food features strongly in this week's show. We've got news of an exciting debut novel. It's a sad and disturbing saga of a family tearing itself apart over the matter of dieting. Thanks very much. A strong story that got a terrific reaction in a school we visited.
Where they've whipped up a fantastic food tableau and turned a crisis into a drama.
What is your problem? I don't have one.
Also, in this week's programme, we'll be meeting Eoin Colfer, the man who's made fairies fashionable.
It's a real genre bender, and I think that's what kids like about it.
And getting over the rainbow, how this D.H. Lawrence classic inspired a career in teaching.
What happens when food becomes a problem for 3 generations of women in one family? Well, that's the starting point for Massive, Julia Bell's tough, grimy novel set here in Birmingham. The story's seen through the eyes of Carmen, a teenager whose mother is obsessed with dieting.
If I was as big as her, I'd kill myself, Mum says, pointing at a picture of Marilyn Monroe in a magazine. I'm sitting at the kitchen table, waiting for my toast to brown. You'd tell me, wouldn't you, if I got that big? I look at her. I can see her bones through her clothes. Of course, I lie. She watches me as I spread gold ultralight on my toast. Don't use so much, Carmen. My name is Carmen because Mum likes to imagine that she's got Spanish blood in her. You're unlucky, she says to me sometimes, looking me up and down, assessing my already plump chest, my thick hips, my freckles. You'll end up with a Mediterranean figure like your nan. You'll always have to watch your weight.
Carmen's story, told in the novel Massive, has been entertaining the girls at Swanshurst School in Birmingham, where they've been working through the many issues raised in the book.
I always tend to start a book by reading it to them, just to get them hooked in so they can hear the expression, so on and so forth, and then take it down to a small group level. And what I would like you to do is review it, but review it as a group. Now, what you've got in front of you are a choice of activities. There are 16 activities. I'd like you to work in groups of 4, and I would like you to do at least 8 of the activities in your group presentation.
Pictures of like perfect women.
Yeah, and you can use like on the inside we can put pictures of people you know.
Yeah.
And was there a space for them to talk about their own experience, or is that a bit tricky with that age of girl?
Not on an individual level, no. We talked about it as a general concept and the way it affects teenage girls and the way the media puts pressure on them to look a certain way. So we talked about it on that level. Without getting too heavy.
So let's look at some of the activities you mentioned. What did you do with the drama?
Well, one group presented it as though Carmen was going to a self-help therapy session, and they were inspired, I think, by Little Britain, with the old fat fighter, and they made it quite comical. They took a serious issue, but they made it quite comical.
We will get you through this. And your name?
Carmen.
What is your problem?
I don't have one.
Is this a joke then?
My aunt sent me here. She thinks I have a problem, but I don't. We chose a stick to represent Carmen's mum because she's obsessed with weight and she wants to be very skinny.
Every day I look at my reflection and see a hideous complexion. I know I look like a fool. No wonder the girls tease me at school.
And we have chocolate cake with fake nails in because Carmen likes chocolate cake and wears fake nails, so it's as if she's been grabbing at it and the fake nails have stuck in.
For Paisley, we chose as perfect as a Barbie doll because she's really into her looks and she's like the queen bee of the 3 friends.
Models in magazines have beautiful faces, so what if I stick out in all the wrong places? All that counts is that I have a pure heart, and in the real definition of beauty, I play a good part.
So, pick up your problem. Come on, pick up your problem. It's coming to your face, it's coming to your face, it's coming to your face. It's smothering you, it's smothering you. Then you turn it away. We're strong, ladies. Push down, push down. Come on, ladies, push. Into the hole. And we are free, ladies. We are free.
So what do you think the students made of the book?
The general reaction was overwhelmingly positive. It definitely got them thinking about issues they'd not thought about before, and it did address quite a lot of misconceptions about eating disorders and why they happen, and that it's very much a mental thing.
Do you think the students were happy with the way the book ended?
Some of them were, but some of them wanted to find out that Carmen definitely got better. They wanted that in the end bit, is she going to get better? You're left to assume that that's what's going to happen, but I think they wanted telling for certain, just to make sure.
I found it quite exciting because you wanted to read on, but you wanted Carmen to get better as well.
I would recommend this book to any teenage girl because every girl thinks about her weight at some point.
When she burns her Barbie dolls, it made me think that like she doesn't want to be like a Barbie doll anymore. She's fine how she was. The thing which I enjoyed most was how the Julia Bell described Carmen being sick and how she felt when she had bulimia, because it helped me understand how people feel.
People should go and read it because it makes you think about all different things like to do with girls and how they think about themselves, and it really helps you with your confidence.
The incredible success of Harry Potter is sometimes seen as a bit of a mixed blessing. Good that it's got kids reading again, bad that it's such outdated, class-ridden tosh. Not my view, nor the view of fantasy writer Eoin Colfer, who's fast becoming one of the biggest names in children's literature. We caught up with the man who's made fairies fashionable again at one of his many public appearances.
Boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, please give a very warm welcome to Eoin Colfer.
My name is Eoin. I write kids' books. Has anyone read any of my books at all? Yeah. That's good, but those of you who have not read my books could have had the decency to pretend.
The Artemis Fowl series is a series about a young 12-year-old criminal mastermind who manages to uncover a fairy world underneath our own. So it's a mixture of comedy, adventure, suspense, magic. It's a real genre bender, and I think that's what kids like about it, in that they never know what to expect.
Humans are at the centre of this particular case. Most humans aren't smart enough to find the leg holes in their trousers, but there are certain mudmen clever enough to make me nervous. If they discovered the existence of an underground fairy city, they would certainly do their best to exploit the residents. Most men would be no match for superior fairy technology, but there are some humans who are almost smart enough to pass as fairies. One human in particular. I think we all know who I'm talking about.
One of the main themes of the book is this mixture of the old-fashioned fairies as people remember them, and then this new high-tech breed, and I think that's reflected very nicely in the covers. They didn't want to put actual figures on the covers because the artist feels that people would see these figures in their imagination, so instead they just want to suggest the mood, which I think he's done really well.
Every year they have a crazy Irish person. We have 3 crazy Irish people. They've all been on Big Brother. And it's not enough just to be crazy. When you turn up to the audition now, you say, oh, I'm Irish, I'm cute. No, not enough. I'm crazy. No, I'm a witch. Okay, you're in. So,
well, reading aloud, I think, is hugely important. In a way, it's like the gateway to literature. I saw the effect it had firsthand from reading to the kids. I was teaching. I remember the first book I read aloud was The Suitcase Kid by Jacqueline Wilson, and at least half of the class went out and read other books by the same author. So it's a hugely effective and amazingly simple way to encourage reading.
The charming and very funny Eoin Colfer, who could hold his own, I'm sure, on the stand-up comedy circuit. Eoin was once a primary school teacher, and he wrote his first novel while still toiling at the chalk face, as did D.H. Lawrence, who fed in his experience into his depiction of Ursula in the novel The Rainbow.
She dreamt she would make the children love her. Teachers were always so hard and impersonal. She would make everything personal and vivid. She would give herself. She would give all her great stores of wealth to her children. She would make them so happy, and they would prefer her to any teacher on the face of the earth.
So, Jane, we got there a picture of Ursula's feelings about wanting to be a teacher, what she could be, what she could bring to the classroom. Were you like that when you read the book?
I think I probably was. A few years ago, I did a piece of research about what makes people become teachers, and I returned to this copy, and I found, to my horror, that it was all marked up, and I'd scribbled under bits, yes, and I'll be like this, and oh, that's like Mr. Harris, and that's like this child. And obviously it really caught me when I was deciding to be a teacher. It catches very well my rather naive philanthropy, thinking that everybody would love me just by the fact that I was a teacher. They did love me, though. They did really love me, but they loved me because I was so nice. They just walked all over me and they learnt nothing. They weren't as big and ugly as the boys in Ursula's class to be quite so vile.
So let's talk about the book. It's about people, they move and they move us, and yet Lawrence's philosophy hangs in the air. Now, does that matter? Is it too heavy-handed when we read it now?
Reading it now, I think yes. It can be a very difficult book to read. There are lots of biblical references in there that you need to explore, you need to be able to understand, and you can get a little bit sidetracked in that.
Samira, it's a pretty grim picture that Lawrence paints. It's fascinating, isn't it? Because he very much shows Ursula in the middle of a sandwich, doesn't he? Because there's the authority above that she's terrified of, but also the children in front of her, they terrify her as well.
Yeah, I mean, her initial sort of reaction to the pupils as a squadron, an army of benches before her, it's the initial process of her disillusionment with that particular vocation. And you know it's going to be a very pessimistic view of the profession. But it is that process of self-discovery for her as well, because when she, after a week, when she feels, oh, I want to give myself to these pupils, and that will be enough personality over professionalism, and when she feels that will be enough, then for her to actually have that moment of annihilation when she has to thrash the boy and gain respect.
Horrific, really, isn't it?
It is, yeah. Yeah.
Mike, there's a struggle in a book like this. It's to do with freedom, a certain kind of freedom. Do you get that now from Lawrence?
I do get a sense of struggle all the way through the book, particularly from Ursula. She strives very hard against all of the things that are thrown against her, and there is this searching from many of the characters in the book, constant exploration for particularly spiritual expression and spiritual satisfaction.
That's right. And is that satisfying as a reader today, or do we have to say, oh well, that was old Lawrence in the time of the First World War, you know?
I think his ideas are interesting and worth exploring. I think certainly one of two of his ideas are definitely well dated now and should stay in that, you know, sort of 1915, 1920 period.
I don't know, I disagree. I think the sort of quest for fulfilment is just as relevant today as it ever was.
Phrases bandied around about teachers as it's an investment of the self, and it's not until you actually really feel like a teacher inside that you are a teacher, and that teachers sort of are a bit mechanistic. You're following guidelines to start with, and then comes a moment, and she has one glimpse of that when she's teaching one afternoon, where you really feel like you are a teacher, and it starts to become part of who you are.
And you're absolutely right. There is that moment one afternoon where she knows that this sort of golden period will come to an end.
Yes.
As a result, it poisons her thinking about the next day, because then she's going to go back and have to teach in this huge room with this huge hall with the headmaster listening all the time.
But she says, but I knew we couldn't carry on like that because I had the end-of-year assessments, and I'm in schools all the time and teachers say, we can't do it like you say because, or like I want to because I've got the SATs, or because
Ofsted are on the way.
Ofsted are on their way, and, you know, I can't get away with that, can I, if Ofsted are in? And what they're talking about getting away with is good teaching.
Well, that's it for now. One last thought, and it belongs to the Children's Laureate, Jacqueline Wilson. She says, reading aloud makes children readers for life. I couldn't agree more. And I'll be back with more Reading Aloud, the book show, very soon. Bye for now.